wants to do is he wants to provide for you. Conor's going to come and talk about that.
Check it out. How many of you guys like to have ever laid down on the ground outside and looked at the clouds and wondered what they look like? Like, that one looks like a wiener dog. That one looks like a balloon. I don't know. Well, one time me and my dad, we were locked out of our house, and so he had this genius idea where he walks over and laid down and he put his feet up against the side of the house. And we're laying there looking up at the sky. And because of the way the roof was, it gave you this viewpoint where you could see the clouds and how fast they were actually moving, where you could actually see them moving across the top of the house. So normally, you look up at the sky and you think the clouds are standing still. Well, they're not. It's just kind of one of those optical things. So we're laying down and we're staring at them. And a lot of times I think that we look up at the sky and we wonder about the creativity of who God is. And we think, man, God is so big and his creativity is so great. But a lot of times I think Jesus is looking down on us and he's thinking, man, the power of creativity that I've given them is so great and I've given them so much. Their potential is so much further beyond what they even understand. You see, he's provided us with things. He's provided us with so much more than I think on a daily basis we really recognize. Sometimes when you really sit down and you think about it, it's mind-boggling. And I think Jesus... Well, I know Jesus wanted to teach his disciples a lesson about this. And we all know that Jesus was kind of a guy that shook things up. He didn't do things the same way that everybody else did them. And that's what made people so uncomfortable with him. But he does this amazing thing in Matthew 10 where he grabs his disciples and he pulls them aside. And he gives them a command and he tells them to go do something that was different, something that they were uncomfortable with. What they had always understood is while they were with Jesus and Jesus was doing miracles and healing people and raising people from the dead and healing people's eyes and doing these amazing things, they were kind of standing by and watching Jesus do it. They weren't a part of it. They didn't understand really who they were or what the kind of power they had in their hands. And so Jesus pulls them and he says, listen, I'm going to send you out 2 by 2. I want you to go out and I want you to preach the gospel. I want you to heal people because I'm bestowing my power upon you. I'm giving you the power that I have so you can do the things that I do. When you touch people, they'll be healed. When you speak to people, they'll listen. And he sends them out because in their day, they didn't have ATM machines. If you got lost on the road, you didn't have a credit card, you couldn't just go swipe it and get what you needed. You took things with you. But he says to him, don't take any gold or silver. Don't take an extra tunic. Don't take an extra pair of sandals. Don't take a staff. Because a worker is worth his wage. When you show up, the things that you need will be there. They'll be ready. The word provision. I'm going to slaughter this because I don't actually speak Latin. So cut me some slack. Okay? The word provision comes from a word called provisio, which means forethought, seeing something in the future, planning ahead. And the latter part of the word comes from ion or ion. I don't know exactly how you say it. It's I-O-N. You figure it out. It says ion, and that means to take action. And so literally the word provision means to take forethought and put it into action. Just like God sees from a GPS satellite view, he sees where you're going and what you're going to do. He sees ahead of where you're going. He has forethought. God is smart enough to think in advance and to say, I know where you're going and I know exactly what you need. And it's going to be there because my forethought is put into action. When you show up, you'll have it. But the reality of it is you'll never figure out provision until you step out. God isn't here to just provide something for you while you sit in your chair. But he's calling you to step out. And when he sent the disciples, when he sent them away from him, out of what they were comfortable with. For some of you, maybe you're just comfortable being in your church. For some of you, it's way, way uncomfortable to put yourself in a situation where you're with people that don't believe like you do, who don't understand who God is the way that you do. And God wants you to send you from this comfortable place where everything is handed to you and provided for you to a place where suddenly you have to depend on God's provision. And he's saying to you, don't take all these things that you think you need. When you show up, what you need will be there. It's already going to be in place. I've seen where you're going. I know what you're going to do. I know exactly what you need. Sometimes we get this mixed up in our heads because we load ourselves down. I remember one of my favorite movies is Saving Private Ryan. Any Private Ryan fans in the house? Woo! That's right. In Saving Private Ryan, I don't know if you remember, but they had this scene where they came upon this whole airborne troop where they had flown in on these gliders. But almost all of them had been basically massacred by the ground because they had loaded up these gliders with way too much stuff. They had put Jeeps in them that were way too heavy and different pieces of equipment, and they just literally fell. They could barely control, and so they were crashing into trees, and all these men died because for some reason they felt the need to load down this glider that's not really intended to carry heavy things with stuff that was way over their weight limit, and they crashed in the ground, rendering all those men literally ineffective. Sometimes we do that. We think we need to load ourselves up with all this cool junk. We think, man, the only way I'm going to reach people is if we bring in this amazing band to play on campus so they can be wowed by the awesomeness of our sound system or the awesomeness of this or that. When in reality, all God wants you to do is be there. And when you show up, He's going to provide for you. He's going to provide you with the opportunity. He's going to provide you with the resources that you need and the words you need to speak. He even told many of them, He said, don't plan out what you're going to say. Because when you show up, the words that you need to speak are going to be on your heart. I'm going to speak through you. Because how many of you know that people don't need me? Jesus. Right? They don't need you to come and give yourself to them. They need you to come and bring Jesus with you so they can experience Him. And that's really what it's all about. And in this, when you start depending on God's provision, there's one thing that comes with it. And that's God's protection.